First of all, I am truly honored that you have taken the trouble to invite me over here. Usually I think in English, and that is why I talk in English. If there is any problem with that, then kindly let me know. Second thing is that I would like the talk to be interactive, because this is something that affects not only India, but it is an epidemic. It's a pandemic. Pandemic is an epidemic that spreads all over the world. And I have been given a very little time for that. Actually 10 to 15 minutes, they said 10 minutes, to cover cults and cultic relations. Cults is a very static term, and cultic relations is a very dynamic term. Life is a movement in relationship, and we are all related in some way or the other, and these relationships keep on changing, and the flux of this change in relationship is a process of life. Now, if we are to talk on cultic relations, then we have to understand several basic things, because cults and cult science is something that is just taking shape. It was recognized earlier in the US, but from a scientific point of view, and the scientific basis of this science has been recognized only very lately by neuroscience. So to explain all these things to you in 10 minutes is going to be a little difficult. So if there are any difficulties, then I would expect you to ask me questions, and so that I know what you know, and I also know what you don't know, and doubts can be clarified at this point itself. First of all, I have no political inclinations. This is a disclaimer. I stand here as a man of science, and I continue to be a man of science. To understand cults, you have to first go a little bit into the function and structure of human brain. Human brain is like an iceberg. Only about 1/10, not even 1/10, I would say about 1/100th of it is seen consciously. So what we interact is using the conscious mind is very small part of human brain, which is the rational part of human brain. So those of you who are rationalists understand that 95% of your brain is not rational. Then this has been scientifically proved. Subconscious mind or unconscious mind, as we say it, is 95% of human brain, and the functioning of this mind is not rational. It is a non-rational mind. And almost everything of our personality, and if we want to reform our personality also, if we want to destroy our personality and we want to change our personality, what we have to do is change the way the connections are arranged in the unconscious mind, not in the conscious mind. The function of conscious mind is only to collect information from what we see around us, moment to moment basis, and transfer it into the subconscious mind, where it is processed depending on our conditioning. And subconscious mind starts forming much earlier. It starts forming in utero. That means when we are in uterus itself, the subconscious mind starts forming, and it keeps on forming on a day-to-day basis till 40, 50, 60 years of our existence. And the functioning of this mind is not always rational. It is generally irrational. That is why we find irrational decisions being made, and the personality of a person can be changed based on how you provide suggestions to the unconscious mind. Now, when we go, this is the basis that I have given you. Now, what are cults and what are cultic relationships? Cults involve organizations which are well defined in cult science, and the organization is defined based on 3 components. I am coming straight away to cults because there is less of time, otherwise I could elaborate more on this. First thing is the leader. Second aspect of the definition is the structure, and the third aspect of the definition is presence of a coordinated program of coercive persuasion, or coordinated program of thought reform, or coordinated program of mind control. Now, coercive persuasion, thought reform, mind control, these are words meaning the same thing, but they have been used by different neuroscientists. That is why the words differ. Actually, what it means is you are changing the connections, the neuronal connections in the unconscious mind. You are destabilizing the existing personality of a person, and you are inducing a new personality into that person. If this is called a coordinated program of coercive persuasion. Cults involve relationships which are between the leader and the follower. Three aspects that are involved are: first is an authoritarian charismatic leader who is present in that position by virtue of his being charismatic and his being authoritarian and his being exploitative and manipulative. These are the criteria. He is also very daring. See, daring, exploitative, manipulative, charismatic, these are criteria which fit in what is known as psychopathic test, the test of psychopathy. Psychopathy is a totally different field, wherein even normal or a high IQ person can be a psychopath. Now, when a high IQ person is a psychopath, he can induce a lot of devastation in society. Classic example would be Adolf Hitler, a very intelligent person, but he was exploitative, manipulative, charismatic, good orator, and he could take the masses with him. So, leader is one very important part of the cult, and he is not democratically elected. He is elected through redefinition of democracy. We'll come to that at a later stage. So, first aspect is leader. Second aspect is the structure of the cult. The cult is designed in such a way so as to make all its followers, and followers need not always be weak people. Strong people during moments of vulnerability can fall prey to the cult. Intelligent people can fall prey to the cult. We know that a lot of doctors are members of cults in Goa. So very intelligent, very qualified, very educated people can also fall victims to the cult. So this is the structure of the cult, wherein an exploitative leader, through a particular structure of coordinated program of cult indoctrination, is exploiting followers whose basis is idealism. It is exploitation from above and idealism from below. All members of the cult are essentially idealists. There is no member of a cult who does not believe in idealism. All have got idealism, whether it is Hindutva cults. They all believe that a Hindu Rashtra is the ultimate. They are idealists. So, if you consider that idealism is a virtue, then I would say idealism is a vice. It's not a virtue. An ideal is something that does not exist, and therefore it is called an ideal. And you go in search of an ideal, you fall prey to those people who say that they know it all, and they will take you to that ideal. And these are the people who are the cult leaders. So it is only an idealist, by and large, who will fall victim to a cult. A person who does not believe in idea, who does not believe in idealism, like a person like me, will not fall victim to a cult. When you go in search of an ideal, you go in search of a guru. And the cult provides that guru. It's simple as that. Now, the guru may be a little more contemporary, like as in case of Marx. The guru may be a little more fictitious, as in case of maybe Ram or Krishna. So, guru can be different. But a guru is a guru. And the moment you start following a particular person's second-hand ideas, you get indoctrinated by that idea. You and all those members who think alike can be called a cult. Now, there are several other aspects of the cult. The most important aspect of the cult is double ethics. Why don't you call a religion a cult? In general, suppose. Can you call a group, like maybe free thinkers, a group, can you call it a cult? You cannot. Why? Because it does not follow double ethics. Double ethics is what? There may be a leader among free thinkers also, but that leader preaches humanism to the group members, and the group members will preach humanism to the non-members. So the ethic is the same. It is not a double ethic. But when it comes to cults, the leader will preach something to the group members and will tell the group members to preach something else to the non-members. So this is a double ethic. So when double ethic comes in, it is called a cult. And why are cults dangerous? Cults are dangerous because cult is a phenomenon of fundamentalist ideology, fundamentalist thinking. It's an all or none thinking. So wherever there is fundamentalism in the world, you will find a cult. Whether there is a fundamentalist tendency in India, where the cult may be all the Hindutva cults, you may name them in different ways. They may have different roles, but different techniques of operation, but they are basically all cults. It's a conglomerate of cults. Fundamentalism in the Middle East, you find ISIS, which is also a cult. There are certain common pathways in which the cults operate. And what is most important is, where there are cults, there can be no peace. That is because of the double ethic. They want to recruit members, and once the members are recruited, they are indoctrinated. And that doctrine is not in line with the non-members. So double ethic is the reason why cult conflict comes into conflict with the existing law, but it avoids scrutiny. Generally, the cults will always avoid scrutiny through different ways. First way is, the moment you question a cult, you criticize a cult, the cult will resort to legal terrorism. It will use all options that are available to it under law to attack the people who are questioning the cult. Like defamation cases may be filed, threats may be issued. Actually, the cult decides who should live and who should not. So it is basically an elitist approach. Anybody who believes in the ethic of the cult becomes a good man. Anybody who does not believe in the ethic of the cult becomes a bad man, and the bad man is to be destroyed. That is how it works. So these are the various ways in which the cults operate. Now the question comes is, why are these cults coming up now in such a big way? Why were they not there earlier? Maybe about 30, 40 years or so. They were there, but they were systematically destroyed. Destruction of the cults in history has always been associated with violence. Whether that violence has been perpetrated within the nation itself by the people who have been victims of the cult, or it has been perpetrated by the neighbors of the nation when the victims themselves have failed to contain the cult. These are two different ways in which cults have been dealt with. The first way is in the US. What did the US do? US had their majoritarian cults. KKK, White Knights, Red Shirts. These were white majoritarian cults of US. How did they tackle them? There was a president, a white president. His name was Ulysses B. Grant, and he sought a 6-month window from the US Supreme Court. He took congressional permission. He enacted a law, brought in a law called the Third Enforcement Act, and he literally sent his army after KKK. And KKK was removed. After 6 months, Supreme Court declared the law unconstitutional. But all he wanted was 6 months. Within 6 months, all majoritarian cults in US were dismantled. Today, even in the birthplace of KKK, which is Mississippi, you can't get more than 5 people to protest, to hold a demonstration for KKK in Mississippi. If 5 people come with placards of KKK, 5,000 people will come in protest of that placard of KKK. That is the situation of KKK in Mississippi, the birthplace of KKK. So that is the case in US. So US took care of its own majoritarian cults, and the person who took care of these majoritarian cults was a member of the majority itself, a white man. Now, in Germany what happened? There were cults, all the principles of cults were followed. Same way, one charismatic leader, one redefinition of democracy, one redefinition of justice, and he indoctrinated all Germans, convinced them that they were superior race. All those who were Jews were put to death. Germans could not control the cult. So what happened? Neighbors stepped in and they violently removed the cult. This is what has happened in Europe. So in US, neighbors did not have to step in, they took care of themselves. In Europe, neighbors had to step in, but the cults ultimately have to be dismantled violently. And for those who believe that if the cults are not contained in India, they will somehow be contained. If you believe that you choose to look the other way, that these cults are not going to do the damage to the democracy, then I would differ. The cults have already done damage to democracy, and the way to curtail them is either go the US way and use the legal system, create a loophole in legal system and dismantle them, or you'll have to go the European way, where the neighbors will step in and contain them. But they will have to be contained, and Gandhi is not going to help you, because Gandhi has written a letter to Hitler wherein he has made it clear that Hitler cannot be dismantled through non-violent means. He will be dismantled through means more violent than himself. This is Gandhi's letter to Hitler, which I have read, and this is exactly what has happened. So same violence will occur in India. So if you want to know anything more about cults, I have not named any of the cults. There is no point in naming. There are so many of them. But minoritarian cults are also there, but they don't really make a difference, because simply by virtue of being their minority, they are unable to exert influence on the society. When cults become majoritarian, it becomes a cause of concern. If you have any questions, then it would make me understand how much you understand in all this. If you don't have any question, then I would presume that you understand everything or you understand nothing. So that you have to see. Yeah.
Is hate also a necessity of a cult? Or is it only love for your ideas is the necessity of it?
Yes. See, it is like this. The answer to that question is, why have cults come now in a big way? Because this is the period of what we call psycho-historical dislocation. Two phenomena are occurring very, very rapidly in society. First phenomenon is that science and technology is progressing very fast, and therefore it is making information, it is bringing about an information equality all over the world. So an image which is produced in US will be available within seconds in India. Any information of any time of humanity is accessed by a person. This creates a threat to the existential values, the prevailing values of our society. So the moorings are threatened. This is one thing. And the second thing why this is happening is the rapid rise in science and technology has also endowed humanity with a capability to destroy itself completely as a species, without any need or without any redemption. So this fear is also there, that if we lose our moorings, which are based on religion, which are based on our old lines of thinking. What is fundamentalism? Fundamentalism is fear of loss of fundamentals. That is the definition of fundamentals. And what are the fundamentals? Fundamentals are your original thinking, the thinking of religion, the thinking which has been ingrained through the generations. That has to be changed now. So the fear is the reason why the cults are coming. Hate is a manifestation of fear. It is a reaction. Fear is the basic thing. A cult member becomes a cult member out of fear. Hate is a reaction wherein it's only when a person is frightened that he will go to attack. A person who is not frightened does not attack. So hate is not involved in that way directly, but what is involved is the fear of loss of fundamentals. That is what is forming the cults. I hope I answered the question, or is there?